Why do you like the Barbie? Do you know?
She's been around for so many decades, but hasn't aged a day. She's had more than 180 different jobs. She's been president, she's been to the moon, and she's done all the things that women aspire to do. She has a massive closet and thousands of different outfits. Barbie is way more than just a 12 inches long piece of plastic. She is way more than a toy. The legendary blonde bombshell has grown into a phenomenon and a children's sensation. Wildly revolutionary, Barbie broke barriers, shattered glass ceilings, and has inspired countless dreams, wonder, and imagination with her signature color, pink.
You know, I really love what pink does to you. I think it frees you. I think it really brings you in touch with your inner child. If you're able to, if you can just embrace it for what it is, that it's cotton candy fun.
Let's step into the beautiful world of Barbie and take a look at her cultural revolution through the decades.
What do you think Barbie tells us about us?
Big work and lots of fun, right, Barbie? Day to night, Barbie.
Briefcase and style.
We can start again to what you did. By dancing, Barbie. He's now played.
And with his kiss,
She open her eyes now.
Barbie, you're beautiful. You make me feel.
Barbie dressed for swim and fun is only $3. Her lovely fashions range from $1 to $5. Look for Barbie wherever dolls are sold.
A Barbie doll is fantasable. It's all about fantasy. And that is extremely important. You know, the celebrities, the icons of now are fanciful bits of paper, if you like, because all we know about them in absolute truth, if there is such a thing, is the fact that they're on a piece of paper.
July 2023. Barbie saw its first live-action feature film come to the big screen. The eagerly anticipated movie put the iconic doll back in the spotlight in a big way with a giant marketing campaign in the lead-up to its release, and pointed to Mattel's shining star's enduring appeal and popularity, which has spanned decades.
Oh yeah, Barbie is timeless, and I think that this movie is so nostalgic, and that was one of the things when I first walked onto that set, and Greta was like, "Alex, that's your Barbie dream house." I lost my bananas, honey. I started crying.
Well, I mean, I think Barbie's been around for 64 years. She's been empowering women. She's been to the moon. She's been the president. She's done everything. I think it just is such a positive message that women can be anything and do anything, that they can dream in a world that, has limitations.
About the movie too, and the exciting thing about Barbie is it's ever evolving, and I don't think the movie shies away from some of the very valid criticisms that the world has had of Barbie over the years. And, even still, I think it speaks to Greta's strength as a filmmaker, but, it lets us know that the brand is continually evolving and that Barbie is becoming for everyone and moving in that direction.
Knowing what Barbie was, I had a mom who didn't like Barbie, so, that had that dynamic. And then I had all the girls on my block, when I was growing up, they'd give me their Barbies, when they were done with them, when they outgrew them. And so I sort of had this relationship to Barbie that was contained the fantasy of it and the argument against it all at once. And I thought, if I have this complicated, complex relationship with it, probably other people do too. And so that felt like an exciting place to start.
Amazing. Were you a Barbie kid? Like, did you have the house and stuff?
Of course I was a Barbie kid. Are you kidding?
Me too.
I was the Barbie kid. I was creepy about it. It was all Barbies all the time.
And I think that, you know, it's fun. I think it's pink. I think it's happy. And this movie just has something for everybody. Truly, it will make you cry. It'll make you laugh. It is so funny. And it's just really an all-audience feel-good movie.
Today, the global toy industry is more than a $100 billion business, and it is dominated by the Southern California toy company Mattel, the #1 main player. And in 1959, a doll named Barbie, in full, Barbara Millicent Roberts, launched onto the American toy market, revolutionizing it forever. She is arguably the original influencer of young girls, pushing an image and lifestyle that can shape what they aspire to be like. Barbie was the brainchild of Ruth Handler, co-founder with her husband Elliot of Mattel. At the time, most children's toy dolls were representations of infants, which only offered little girls to imagine themselves as caregivers. Realizing that there could be a gap in the market for a toy that allowed them to imagine the future, Handler suggested the idea of an adult-bodied doll to her husband Elliot. He was unenthusiastic about the idea, as were Mattel's directors. But after Ruth Handler was inspired by watching their daughter play with make-believe paper dolls of adult women, she believed that it was important for Barbie to have an adult appearance. The precursor to the Barbie doll was not meant for children. Barbie's appearance was modeled after a doll named Build Lily, which had been inspired by a German comic strip character created for an adult market. Mattel bought the rights to Lily, and Handler created her own version for children and renamed her after her daughter Barbara. On what would become her official birthday, March 9, 1959, Barbie, who would come to be Mattel's most significant and long-lasting creation, was officially introduced to the world at the annual Toy Fair in New York. The first ever Barbie doll featured a black and white striped bathing suit, pouty red lips, and a sassy blonde ponytail. She was available either as a blonde or brunette. She wore earrings and high heels, making a few reappearances over the years. The doll was marketed as a teenage fashion model, with her clothes created by Mattel fashion designer Charlotte Johnson. Mattel advertised Barbie directly to children via television. Mattel, in fact, upon sponsoring Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse Club program in 1955, became the first toy company to broadcast commercials to children.
And gloves galore, and all the gadgets gals adore.
Barbie dressed for swim and fun is only $3. Her lovely fashions range from $1 to $5. Look for Barbie wherever dolls are sold.
Someday I'm gonna be exactly like you. Till then I know just what I'll do. Barbie, beautiful Barbie. I'll make believe that I am you.
You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.
The first dolls were manufactured in Japan, with their clothes hand-stitched by Japanese home workers. Handler always saw Barbie as a reflection of the times, with the first dolls mimicking the glamour of 1950s stars, such as Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe. In the first year, more than 300,000 Barbies were sold. It became the first mass-produced toy doll in the US that had adult features. The first Barbie doll sold for $3, but a vintage mint-condition Barbie can fetch more than $25,000 today. And since 1959, millions of Barbies have been sold worldwide in 150 different countries. Since then, Barbie has become a trendsetter. With her tiny waist and changeable yet always idealized looks, she became a global phenomenon. The leggy 11-inch plastic figure was the first mass-produced toy doll in the US with adult features. She would go on to become one of the most iconic playthings in history. Through play, she helped children understand the world around them, and she helped girls see the endless possibilities available to them through their imagination. Barbie somehow reflected the future. From the beginning, Barbie was a career woman and provided an alternative to traditional 1950s gender roles. For decades to come, Barbie continued to evolve with the changing times and rode the wave of feminism. She was the all-American girl and really reflected the fashion of the decade, a fashion model with her own career. First, she graduated from college. Then, just 1 year after her inception, she was working as a fashion designer in a natty pink pencil suit. The toy swiftly grew so popular, she needed her own entourage. In response to consumer demand, just 2 years later in 1961, Mattel brought out Barbie's ultimate accessory, her boyfriend Ken. The Ken doll helped with the popularity of Barbie around the world and provided appeal to various male audiences. Ken was named after Ruth Handler's son. Like Barbie, Ken made his debut wearing a swimsuit, but soon had his own fashionable line of clothing and accessories. And just like Barbie, but nowhere near as prolific, he also has an impressive CV, from barista to banker. From here, more Barbie playsets, including Ken and Barbie together, were made, featuring various occasions such as date night, holidays, and even their own wedding. But in 2004, amid a rash of high-profile celebrity breakups, such as Britney Spears and Jason Alexander, Paris Hilton and Nick Carter, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, Barbie and Ken made news of their own when they decided to call it quits. They were better off as friends and ended a 43-year-long relationship. They didn't have to worry about splitting up their things, though. The dream house was always Barbie's. But after 7 years apart, Barbie and Ken reunited. In 1962, Barbie bought her own dream home. However, it wasn't until the mid-70s that women could access a line of credit and open a bank account in their own name and independently without a man. Usually, the husband would have to co-sign her application to even get a credit card. Single women still couldn't apply for a loan or credit card in their own name without a signature from their father, even if they earned more. For Barbie to own her own house was way ahead of its time. She also gets a very fashionable sports car, a pink Austin Healey, taking on the stereotypes of women drivers. In 1990, she even upgraded to a Ferrari, the dream car that reflected her glamorous lifestyle. In 1991, she would get her own magical mansion, and in '98, she moved to a Victorian-style house. She personified the American dream, even though at that time, by 2011, only 0.1% of young women aged 25 to 34 owned a home by themselves. She was a rebel. She was independent and revolutionary. In 1963, Mattel added Barbie's best friend, Midge, and in 1964, Barbie's little sister, Skipper. Other siblings later appeared. Midge would go on to have her own checkered history. Fashioned as a homelier friend for Barbie, with red hair and freckles, she would disappear after 1967, returning in the 1980s along with a husband, children, and a happy family line of toys, which even included pregnant Midge. But outrage followed that Midge was pregnant without a wedding ring. though to many Barbie was too conventional, with her improbable proportions and origins as a doll who aspires to essentially marry Ken. To many, she was too progressive. Barbie broke the plastic ceiling when she went to the moon in 1965, 4 years before Neil Armstrong. This was still 20 years before an American woman would actually go into space. The first American woman, Sally Ride, would go into space in 1983, whereas astronaut Barbie first came out in 1965. Barbie was the first American woman in space for young girls to look up to. She has always suggested the future, and she showed us what might be. Since then, she has been everything from a doctor to a paleontologist to a rock star to a computer engineer. In 1967, supermodel Twiggy became the first celebrity to have a Barbie made in her likeness. Cher, Audrey Hepburn, Diana Ross, and J.K. Rowling, to name a few, would later join the ranks of celebrity Barbies. Throughout her first decade, Barbie would take on a myriad of vocations, pointing the way out of the kitchen. Over the span of her existence, Barbie has had more than 250 careers, teaching girls everywhere to aim high and maximize their potential with her huge catalog of careers and adventures. But not everyone loved Barbie. Who would have thought that a plastic doll would be so controversial? By the 1960s, she was already attracting criticism for being a sex symbol. Mothers in a 1958 Mattel-sponsored market study before the doll's release criticized Barbie for having too much of a figure. She was said to be out of touch, materialistic, and not diverse. If there is one unswerving commentary about Barbie, it is the unrealistic proportions of her figure. Impossibly nipped-in waist, generous boobs, and unbendable legs which, famously, would never be able to support Barbie's frame in reality. Beyond the fact that she is ludicrously appointed, it is the message this sends to young girls that has always caused concern. How impossible would it be to look like Barbie, and equally, how depressing when you look nothing like her? Is the Barbie doll a feminist icon or a damaging toddler toy? The controversy surrounding the famous doll and its impact on young girls is ever growing. In fact, in 1994, researchers in Finland announced that if Barbie were a real woman, she would not have enough body fat to menstruate. Indeed, the doll has historically propagated an unrealistic body type and worrying messages. In 1963, Barbie came complete with a diet book that simply read, "Don't eat." In 2006, a study concluded that girls exposed to Barbie at a young age were more vocal about being thin compared with those exposed to other dolls, and her idealized body shape was said to negatively impact adolescent girls subconsciously. Mattel responded by changing the body mold for Barbie on several occasions, and her appearance has changed many times. In 1961, Barbie's blue eyes were replaced with a more natural brown, introducing a touch of realism. In 1965, Barbie was given bendable legs. And in 1967, the twist and turn Barbie was introduced, allowing her to move more freely and strike various poses. In 1971, when the doll's eyes were adjusted to look forwards, rather than having the demure sideways glance of the original model, this would be the last adjustment Ruth would make to her own creation, as 3 years later, she and her husband Elliot were removed from their posts at Mattel after an investigation found them guilty of issuing false and misleading financial reports. At the turn of the 21st century, the doll was given smaller breasts, a wider waist, and slimmer hips.
1 year ago, Mattel presented the Ashley Graham Barbie. It's pretty dope, right? She'd see the thick thighs, the lower belly, you can't really see it, but there she is. Front row can see it.
Until 1967, there was yet to be a non-white Barbie. So Mattel went on to try to become more diverse and inclusive. Colored Francie made her debut in 1967, and she is sometimes referred to as the first African-American Barbie doll. However, she was produced using the existing head molds for the white Francie doll and lacked distinct African characteristics other than dark skin. The first African-American doll in the Barbie range made her debut in 1968. 9 years after Barbie's invention, Mattel introduced their first black doll, Christy, a friend of Barbie. Christy arrived in the midst of the civil rights movement when critics chided Mattel for failing to represent diversity in America. In the 1980s, the glamour look took off, and we saw Barbie break new ground. It would not be until 1980, however, that Mattel would produce its first African-American Barbie, hailed as Barbie herself, and not a friend of hers. She was designed by Kitty Black Perkins, who was chief designer for the company for more than 30 years. When she arrived, the doll was wearing a red disco jumpsuit, and the box came with the tagline, "She's black, she's beautiful, she's dynamite." Mattel also produced its first Hispanic Barbie that year. The first apparent East Asian Barbie, named the Oriental Barbie doll, released in 1981 in the Dolls of the World collection, was notable for being the first Asian doll in the Barbie brand, making her historically important. In September 2009, Mattel introduced the So In Style range, which was intended to create a more realistic depiction of African-American people than previous dolls. Today, there are more than 40 international Barbies of various nationalities and ethnicities. As the years went by, Barbie's appearance evolved to mirror the changing trends in fashion and reflect the diverse world around her. In the 1970s, the Malibu Barbie and Superstar Barbie were created. They became probably the most popular themes of the decade for the dolls. By 1985, Barbie had entered the male-dominated corporate world, and the idea that women could have it all was starting to reach its peak. By 1985, CEO Barbie donned a pink power suit that could take her from the boardroom to a night on the town. That same year, the company launched the campaign, "We Can Do Anything," encouraging girls to go after their dreams, whatever they are. The 1980s went away. In the 90s, Barbie realized her political ambitions, and she ran for president in 1992, where she had 6 campaigns. But she was not the first woman to run for president in the US. Victoria Woodhull ran in 1872 after being nominated by the Equal Rights Party. It would actually be 24 years after Barbie's campaign that a woman would be a major party nominee for president. This was in 2016, when Hillary Clinton was nominated by the Democratic Party as their presidential candidate. Since her birth, Barbie has seen 12 presidents come and go. She has also joined every branch of the U.S. military, become a pilot, police officer, firefighter, dentist, veterinarian, and pediatrician. In 1992, Barbie got a new sister called Stacy, and in 1995, baby sister Kelly was introduced. That year, we got Totally Hair Barbie, with the longest hair of any doll. The doll had long and flowy hair that reached down to her ankles. Upon her release, 10 million Total Hair Barbies were sold, and she became the best-selling Barbie to date due to little girls enjoying playing with different hairstyles. In 1996, Barbie competed in the Olympics again, and an ultra-flexible Barbie won the gold medal in gymnastics, showing that by then, she was more lifelike, being able to move in more ways.
Barbie dolls were a really important part of the way my sisters and I played together. We had a 3-story dollhouse in the attic where I remember imagining myself as an emergency room doctor, as a busy mom, and even as a race car driver in my little pink Corvette that I'm sure I'm not the only one in the audience had. My mom wanted us to play with dolls that looked like us, so she would only buy us Barbies of color. This is the way we could see and celebrate our beauty for our brown skin, even as conventional standards of beauty of what we saw in the media ran counter to that. I would even sew little tiny hijabs on my Barbie dolls. Aww. I'm serious, yes. Sometimes made of tissue, but they did have hijabs. So I was a designer out of the womb. Now Mattel is doing this for us. Today I'm proud to know that little girls who wear hijab, and just as powerfully those who don't, can play with Barbie who chooses to wear a headscarf. She's a Barbie who is strong enough to wield a giant saber and dedicated enough to spend years working her way to an Olympic medal. And she loves fashion. That's not just Barbie, that's me. That's all of us. I hope that little girls of color, or little Ashley Grahams, across the heartland will be inspired to embrace what makes them unique. What I'm most excited about is not having a Barbie that looks like me, but one that I can give to my 2-year-old niece Malia to play with, without having to sew a little bitty hijab. Thank you all so much.
The expansion of characters contributed to the popularity and recognition of the doll. Its expansion not only sparked a toy industry, but also a cultural revolution. Back then, when girls' toys centered on nurturing and domestic roles like childcare and kitchen play, Barbie shattered stereotypes and allowed young girls to transcend traditional gender roles. Unlike baby dolls, Barbie did not teach nurturing, nor was the doll defined by relationships of responsibility to men or family. Barbie has no parents or offspring. She is a model for financial self-sufficiency. In her 1994 memoir, Ruth Handler said, "My whole philosophy of Barbie was that through the doll, the little girl could be anything she wanted to be. Barbie always represented the fact that a woman has choices." In 1997, the hit song Barbie Girl reached the top of the music charts in over 10 countries. In 2001, Barbie made her first feature film, Barbie and the Nutcracker. Now, there are 39 Barbie movies. To celebrate her 50th anniversary in 2009, Barbie had her own runway show at the New York Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, featuring original creations by 50 notable designers. She's always been a fashionista, so to keep up with her ever-changing style and her love for clothing, Mattel has used more than 105 million yards of fabric to create Barbie and her friends' outfits. The toy maker is now considered to be one of the largest apparel manufacturers in the entire world. When Barbie isn't sporting her Mattel designs, she's wearing the outfits that luxury fashion designers Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana, Givenchy, and Versace have created for her. Over 1 billion pairs of shoes have been designed for her. The most expensive Barbie ever sold was created by Australian jewelry designer Stefano Canturi, and she more than earned its price tag, wearing a custom-made choker crafted with white diamonds and a striking pink diamond. The 1-carat colored jewel was a rare discovery from Australia's Argyle mine and itself worth $300,000, effectively turning the toy into an investment piece. The doll sold at Christie's in 2010 for $302,500, with proceeds directly going to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. Barbie continued to represent women in fields where they were underrepresented. So she became a race car driver, a newsroom reporter, an architect, a detective, and a film director. Mattel also produced a bold friend of Barbie named Ella, which was created to help young girls with cancer to have a Barbie that reflected their experience and what they looked like. By 2012, Mattel had sold millions of Barbie dolls, but the sales began to fall. Maybe they were doing it wrong. And there was one reason for it. Barbie was no longer in sync with changing attitudes towards women. Between 2015 and 2019, Barbie's icon status took a new turn. For a doll historically white, busty, and thin, the second half of the decade saw the most radical overhaul to Barbie's physical image to date. Mattel majorly ramped up inclusivity efforts in the latter half of the 2010s, releasing dolls with a wider variety of body sizes, skin tones, hair textures, and ability status. To address long-time criticism and parents' concerns that Barbie dolls still did not accurately reflect the diversity of the modern woman, Mattel introduced their new crew to the world, Barbie Fashionistas. They came in 3 body types, 7 skin tones, 22 eye colors, and 24 hairstyles. Now, Barbie came in 3 new body shapes, petite, tall, and curvy, aiming to reflect a more realistic representation of women's bodies and foster positive body image.
1 year ago, Mattel presented the Ashley Graham Barbie. It's pretty dope, right? She'd see the thick thighs, the lower belly, you can't really see it, but there she is. Front row can see it. So I'm really happy about this because now little girls can look at a Barbie and say, I am Barbie. We have Barbies that have different skin types, skin tones, different shapes and sizes, hair textures. Barbie is every kind of woman now. And that's why it's so exciting to be a part of this whole journey with Barbie. 3, 2, 1.
So cute. Oh my goodness, so cute. Look. Oh, I love it. Perfect hijab moment right here. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh my gosh, I love,
off.
look. First of all, look at her legs. I feel like we're battling for like best legs right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder whose are thicker.
Right?
Mine's a little thicker on top.
I don't know, girl. These are Olympic medal. These are Olympic medal thick right here. This one got me, right? And look, it says my name on the back. I love this. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be part of the Barbie family.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
The humble Barbie doll has gone through quite a journey. A childhood toy, a feminist icon, a lightning rod for feminist discontent, a byword for bimbo, and, thanks to this summer's grabbing new film by Greta Gerwig, a cultural moment. In 2023, Barbie made it to the big screen in a live-action film directed by 3-time Academy Award nominee Greta Gerwig and starring Margot Robbie in the title role and Ryan Gosling as Ken. But Greta Gerwig's Barbie was not just a plastic-filled film about Mattel's shining star. The movie also examined Barbie's long and sometimes controversial history in American culture.
Being involved in this project has anything just made me more emphatically obsessed with pink. Like, it's so joyful. No, it's amazing.
I think what Greta did a fantastic job of early on was giving all of us a crash course in the history of Barbie. And so I think we kind of went on set with like all on the same page of like what that spirit was. And
I think Greta and Margot and Ryan and everybody involved have made something that's very special, an original film that I think is very much of the moment, but I really believe will last for years and years to come.
I mean, it's a great film. It's a work of art. Greta has made something exceptionally beautiful, something that people will watch for years and years and years. And I think, you know, it will go a long way for showing people that just because something's pink and sparkly doesn't mean it's not, you know, serious business. So it's really exciting. I nearly burst into tears, and that sounds really kind of glib, and I don't mean that as an exaggeration. And you'll know, if you're a Barbie person, like, to see something that you love and you know, you remember every detail of, made, it's what we always dreamed of as children, to get inside, to be a Barbie. And so to see it, to be able to do that, felt completely and utterly extraordinary and moving and much more, I realised that none of the things I'd grown up caring about had ever been treated with such care and respect before, and had such budgets and had such serious filmmakers behind them, and so that felt very important to me.
Barbie, while I played with her when I was younger, Barbie has evolved over the years, and I think the film addresses this beautifully. There have been so many expectations placed upon Barbie, and even myself, even being cast, you know, after I finished my show, you know, I was shooting a show for 5 years, Insecure, and that took up a lot of my life, and I was primarily in front of the camera, and then I was like, I'm done with the camera, I'm about to eat everything, and, you know, gained weight as one does, and when I found out I was playing a Barbie, I was like, oh no, I have to look a certain way to play Barbie. And even that mentality, I think Greta shattered just in terms of casting different body types for Barbie and casting different races, ethnicities, nationalities, abilities. So it was just a beautiful thing to witness all the different types of Barbies in this world. And again, she addresses so many of the issues we have with Barbie beautifully.
And the excitement is real, and it's exciting for me to see what we worked on a big screen, and also to see people's faces when they're watching it, because there's so much love and laughter. That's all we want. That's all we want.
You know, I wouldn't want to Ken-splain the Barbie movie. I think it's very layered and complicated, and it's so unexpected, and there's so much in there, and I had the experience of experiencing it as Greta wanted me to, which was just with no map. It's just and I want people to have that experience too. I think that there's so many ways you can experience, so many interesting conversations going on in it. There's also a lot of dancing. It's really just kind of a choose your own adventure, but it's loaded, and I think it's just so special.
But it was actually so beautiful and so wonderful, and I think that adults are going to see this movie and they're going to be brought back to that time when they were playing with these action figures or dolls and had these dolls as like an extension of who they are, and were able to create an entire world based off of what they're doing and how they're feeling and who they want to be when they grow up.
Times. I think sometimes Barbie's been ahead of the times, sometimes Barbie's been behind the times majorly. I think right now this movie is kind of its own thing.
You know, there's more than meets the eye.
No, actually, I didn't grow up playing with Barbies. It wasn't necessarily like a world that I saw myself reflected in, which is actually one of the coolest parts about being a part of this movie in this moment. The Barbie world has expanded to include so many more people in it than when I was growing up, and so it's great to be a part of that.
Do you think Greta and Margot and all of you guys in this movie are going to slightly change people's perceptions of Barbie?
Yeah, I mean, mean, my perception of Barbie was certainly changed throughout the process. You know, I had never thought about all the different things she meant at different times, and there have been moments in her legacy where she's been kind of revolutionary and ahead of the times, and other moments where she really, you know, fell behind, or, you know, she, as the first kind of adult woman doll that young girls could project their dreams and aspirations onto, she was a bit of a revolution. But as we all know, she for a long time represented one standard of beauty, one standard of womanhood, which many people feel is very harmful. But that has changed and evolved as we have changed and evolved. And I think that's what this movie is mostly about. It's not about a doll, it's about what this doll that we made, that we created, that we play with, that we project onto says about us as human beings.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of layers to this movie. It's an incredibly self-aware look at what Barbie has meant to the world in over many decades. I think it's incredibly aware of the critiques that some of the brand has faced over the years, and I think just Greta does such a masterful job of weaving those themes into what otherwise is also a really fun and spectacular story with lots of music and dancing. But I think at the end of the day, the film's going to surprise a lot of people because it is so difficult to quantify what it is. There's truly nothing like it out there, and I think that's what makes it such a timeless classic, and you just have to see it.
Everyone knows Barbie. They might love her, they might hate her, but at least they know her, and that was part of the challenge of the filmmaking. That was kind of, Greta's genius at cracking the filmmaking. Barbie doesn't really have a narrative, she doesn't have a storyline, and Greta cracked the code of this. She made it about humanity, she made it about self-discovery, and she made it resonate for people worldwide.
Movie is this, it's such a celebration of like your individual shine and your individual energy, finding whatever that means in yourself and expressing yourself freely and not being afraid of judgment.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbie has carried a massive amount of symbolic weight on her tiny shoulders. Since 1959, over 1 billion dolls have been sold around the world, and she is now a bona fide global icon. Despite criticism, Barbie has well been there since the beginning, and sales of Barbie-related merchandise continue to soar. The history of the doll is a testament to its enduring appeal and impact. Things have changed for her the same way things have changed for women. As Barbie continued to evolve, she remained a symbol of empowerment, creativity, and limitless possibilities. Her journey reflects the evolving perspectives and aspirations of society, making her an enduring and cherished figure in the world of toys. Throughout the decades, Barbie has kept reflecting the changing of society at the time. She set trends and was empowering, often ahead of her time. Whatever we may think about Barbie, love or loathe her, it is impossible to ignore her worldwide impact. She has become a superstar in her own right. For nearly 6 decades, she has held a special place in the lives of millions of young girls, becoming their role model and allowing them to become anything they want. Barbie dolls gave dreams to girls and allowed them to grow. More than 60 years since she first arrived, it looks like it's Barbie's world once more.